Let's make some artist trading cards. This took me a little while, so expect it to take you a couple of days. Welcome to the Art Project. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. So really the only rule for an artist trading card is that they are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. I put 9 on one piece of watercolor paper. I made a 1/8 inch border. You don't have to do the border. I think I kind of would like them without the border, but I made a border around mine, and they look kind of professional when you're done, when they have a little border around it. I noticed that like playing cards and magic cards and Pokemon cards and baseball cards usually all have a border around them. So I made a border on the 9 trading cards that I traced. Then I did a watercolor wash. I did the watercolor wash because I don't like to have any white in my background. Try to eliminate as much white as possible, and kind of the easiest way to start that for me is to do a watercolor wash that I can draw and paint on top of. And so I like to do these watercolor washes just kind of like sloppy wet surface, and then let the watercolor run around in the water. The watercolor will not go outside of the area that you wet down. It's kind of trapped inside the water by water tension or something like that. And so I did that on all of these. Just kind of wet the middle of the square, or wet the trading card, and then drip some paint in it, and I let that dry. I used Inktober prompts. Inktober is a fun little thing you can find on Facebook or Instagram. I printed out their prompts and put it in my sketchbook, and then I did all of my trading cards. I pretty much did all of them in my sketchbook first. Make sure that I liked what I was doing, looked to see what it looked like, made mistakes, made corrections, and some of them actually pretty much look the same in my sketchbook as they do on the card, or look the same in the card as they do in the sketchbook. But it's always good to work in your sketchbook first. Make your plans before you waste a card, or before you waste a canvas or anything like that. I used artist pens and colored pencils to work on top of the watercolor wash. I got to where I really just liked the artist pens more than the color pencil, so I didn't use much color pencil. I did a couple of ideas for tranquil, for the word tranquil, but I didn't like the first two, so I used a reference photo from my morning coffee and drew that for tranquil. And then once I liked it, I put it in the on the card. I did several here that I don't show you all the process, otherwise the video would be really long. But I did a marshmallow for roasted. I did a watch for the word clock, and I did one that I liked so much. It was called prickly. The prompt was prickly, and I did a skull with a bunch of cactus spines, needles coming out of it, and I liked it so much that I just photocopied it and glued it into place instead of redrawing it. It was kind of a detailed picture, and so rather than just redraw the whole thing, I just taped it down. Maybe a little bit cheating there. Then I did several more, and once I got all 9 done, I put a comic book on the back, or comic book pages on the back. I was thinking about like tearing them up into pieces and putting them on the back, But then I decided I'm going to cut these up anyway, and they're super small. So I just went ahead and covered the entire back of my watercolor paper with glue, and then flipped it over and put it on, put the comic book page on top of it. So here's my trading cards with the comic book on the back of it. I use a piece of white paper to help me pat it down without getting fingerprints all over it and smearing anything or getting glue where I don't want glue. Then I cut them all out with scissors. And here are kind of the finished product. I also made like a little label, and I printed out 9 of these labels that have my name and my YouTube channel, and also a little QR code that you can just scan. And I put that, glued that to the back of them. Then I signed the bottom of all of the cards with my artist's signature. And then here are the finished products. This one was the word roasted. This was the word clock. This was the word flow. A lot of people tell me this one's kind of gross. This one was poisonous. This prompt was slice. This prompt was breakable. This prompt was prickly. This one was whale. This was tranquil. And I think that's all of them. And then you take them and you trade with your friends. A friend of mine also does a lot of trading cards, and so I went over to his house and I looked at all of his different trading cards, and I had a hard time deciding, but he picked one of mine and I picked one of his. Go make some trading cards.